Okay, this is Moringa. This is Moringa Revealed. That's the name of the company that makes this. It's pure and raw leaf powder, which is good, except we'll talk about powder another time. We're going to talk with them to see if it's correct. Sustainable superfood from the Earth's most nutritional plant ever discovered. And this is a packet. It's like this, 8 ounces of plain powdered moringa, which is very good. But unless when they turn it into a powder, they destroy its benefits, which in some cases does. But then some people don't understand the difference between those issues. Most people don't. And in some things it doesn't matter. In other ones it matters greatly, whether it's powdered or crystal or what other versions or ways it could be. And knowing all these little things, and there's lots of them to know, and knowing them all together and understanding how to put all this together has a lot to do with nutrition. Well, let me tell you about the moringa plant. I want to do this as quickly as possible. If you will go get a map of the world and show all the places where people are starving because they have no food to eat, and also show me a map separately that shows all the places where moringa grows. It eventually becomes a tree as a weed. It's a weed tree. It grows all over the place. If you took a map of the places in the earth where moringa grows naturally, you'll find it's the same map of the map that shows you where people are starving to death. And moringa would lack some calories, but I can tell you this: America sends a porridge over to these people, gruel, that we make here and make a fortune making it and sending it there, but then we pretend we're doing charity, which we are, but it turns into kind of a little bit, maybe something similar to a scam, but maybe it isn't, depending who's doing it and how we decide to look at it. But I'll tell you, if you were to take 2 tablespoons of this moringa powder or something like it, if this that is able to put moringa in it, you would the nutrition value of that meal would become, I think, in my opinion, if I understand it correctly, the most nutritious meal you could get. It'd be more nutritious than anything you have. It would be nutrient dense and calorie low. And look, 100 grams of moringa dry leaf, and the powder could be different than dry leaf, but we don't know. It depends on what they mean and which version of it they're using. Approximate value has 10 times the vitamin A of 100 grams of carrots, half of the vitamin C, which is the only one that doesn't have much of 100 grams of oranges, 17 times the calcium of milk in 100 grams of moringa leaf, 15 times the potassium of bananas. So I would certainly rather eat a spoon of this than a banana. In fact, to equal the sodium in your diet, in the American diet, you'd probably have to eat about 20 bananas to get enough potassium to balance your sodium. That would be hard to do. You would be very fat. But then 25 times the iron of spinach. Wow. And then 9 times the protein of yogurt. That's from 100 grams of moringa leaf powder. 27% protein. And now let's talk more about moringa. You know, we as a world, we have raped the African continent for 1,000 years, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong that we do that. We had no right to do it and no business doing it, but we've done it. And it's time for that to come to an end. We take all the resources from there. We people in our culture get very wealthy doing it and create these huge businesses. We have a lot of employment in the Western world because of it. And these poor people in Africa, there's still people, some of them making $3 a day, if that much, and living on it. Now, that doesn't mean much because there's not much place for them to spend money. There's nothing. A lot of them don't have water. And many of them have a disease we'll talk about later called yaws, which is the name of this church. And if you know what yaws is, you'll understand why we sort of re-established our church and documented it as a church with that name instead of a previous name we've had. The church that you're talking to, watching the website of here, has existed so long that you wouldn't believe this, but it really existed even before Jesus was here. But we'll go into the details. It really did, but we'll talk about that another time. But do you understand? These people have no business. Moringa, God put this on the earth and kept it here when Satan took over things, and it's here. And in Moringa, they call it the tree of life. You see this picture? It shows a tree, and this person there, tree of life with roots. And that's because anyone who knows healing, or witch doctors, or the good kinds of them for years, herbalists in Africa and South America who know Moringa, they will heal a lot of persons with it for ages. Very, very nutritional. It would be a good thing to take a spoon of every day of your life, and more if you can. And this lady, I happen to know her. That's a miracle in itself. Someday I'll tell you the story. Now, but here's another truth. You can grow the tree. You can. I don't know if you can make farms, because it may have to be that it has to grow naturally. But I'm probably wrong. You can grow moringa anywhere in the world. You can grow it in the United States, but it does better in warmer climates. You can put it in a plant, have it a plant in a pot, and put it in your house and grow it. But now this is the most interesting thing if you understand about Jesus and God, and how humans and the devil have a hatred for God, in a sense that they won't do what God wants us to do. But God's just trying to be our friend. God's just trying to be the friend of human beings, and human beings have decided they're not going to be a friend to God. And that frustrates God, but God isn't frustrated because he loves us in a way we don't understand love. But now look, if you take the moringa tree and you take the leaves, you can harvest them every year and you can use the leaves. Or you could take the tree down and you could harvest the leaves, and you could take the whole tree and you can pulverize it, make it into sawdust powder, grind it up, and then you can press it and press the wood. And especially if the inner box in there, and you'll get this oil. You get an oil, a moringa oil out of it, and it's been used for ages for many things, not too much for eating. This is a bottle of moringa oil. You can't read it too well. It got affected by mice in my house and water. But this is moringa oil, and I don't know if you eat it, but I know that you put it on things. I should ask her. We'll tell you another time as we grow. Now this, if you can see it here or not, I don't know. This comes from New Rochelle. I happen to know this lady because I lived in New Rochelle. I know a lot, and God gave me a wonderful experience that someday will be a story you'll hear how it happened, because our church, this church that you're looking at the video of, is a different church. Learn more about it elsewhere, but we don't. If you come to our church and you belong to our church, we will not take money from you. I'm poor. I'll be poorer than you are. I'm not the leader of the church, but I'm the facilitator. I'm someone I was given the mantle a long time ago. I didn't realize it, or I did and I didn't know, but now we're going to do what we're doing, and we're going to do some mighty things. But if you press the wood and you get this oil, which has many uses, it's sold as a non-eating oil for many things, and maybe it's eaten, but the wood leftovers looks like, it's like a hockey puck. It's a tight pressed hockey puck. And really, it's just sawdust pushed together so closely. Maybe there's a little oil or something in there that glues it together. I don't know. But the other trouble happening in Africa and around the world is there's no pure water. The water's contaminated, often with cow dung or animal feces and other things that just make it horrible. But if you take that hockey puck of the sawdust from the moringa plant, and you go to any body of water, it won't work in a river, but in a body of water, a lake, and say it's all full of cow dung or has a lot of it in it, and you're concerned about it being pure. Now maybe you can't make it exactly pure this way, but you probably can. what I've heard that you can. You throw this, you break this up, this wood, chip, sawdust, and you throw it on all over the lake. You spread it on the lake like the Lord in the Bible talks about spreading things, spreading your bread. You spread this on the waters, and these particles are so tiny, they will purify the water. And how they purify it is amazing. They will, I'll talk about this another time, electricity will cause these particles of the feces and the contaminants to be drawn to these particles, and they'll get heavy and they'll sink to the bottom. And so all the filth will be at the bottom of the river, the lake, and if you use the water, it will be much less dirty, if not purified, than it was. And now there's an industry, because we purify our water for our drinking with chemicals that are dangerous, and a whole industry could exist developing this wood and making it into something that would purify water and using that. That would be interesting, especially where we are, where you're not trying to get feces out of the water, you're just looking for other contaminants, some of which are tiny. But this stuff seems to electromagnetically draw things to it that are bad, and then it gets heavy enough that it falls to the bottom and it's in the bottom. And isn't that amazing? And these things exist every place in the world where there's people starving, and every place where there's persons drinking bad water. And instead of raping Africa and then sending porridge there for people who are starving to death, if we would employ those people, help them develop their own industry of making moringa and processing it there and selling it. We buy a lot of cocoa from Ghana and Nigeria and that region of Africa. But we make it here. They don't make much out of it. They just rarely make anything out of it. And the market, because farm markets, the way we allow them to be, are cruel to the farmers, can be. But here we make a fortune off of cocoa and chocolate and Hershey's, and it's the biggest thing in the world. It's incredibly important. The one thing that for years they always told you when it happened was when the price of a Hershey chocolate bar would change, because it was so involved and ingrained. There were so many things in a Hershey chocolate bar that it reflected ingredients and the process and industry and everything else in our economy. So, but here you go. Now, why there could be 500,000 people who are making $3 a day right now, right there working, producing this stuff, adding it to the porridge, making the porridge over there instead of here. And if we did it here instead of paying someone $15 an hour to make it here, we'd be paying them $2 an hour there, and they would have so much money they wouldn't know what to do with it in that economy. So there's a solution to the world's problems, which has to do with us giving up so much of what we have. Not that we'll have less for doing it, but by letting everyone else enjoy what we've been enjoying for too long at their expense, and that's wealth. So now it's also wonderful. They have a tea. She makes it into a tea. She makes it into other things, and it's lovely. There's a tea bag. Another time we'll talk about teas, but I'll tell you, I won't use tea and I won't use coffee. I won't use them because they're not healthy, they're not safe, they're not good the way you're told that they are. They all have caffeine in them, and if I want caffeine, I'll take a caffeine pill. I don't want to drink a Coke or a cup of coffee or tea. Forget that. And I know that the different kinds of teas. Look, we're so misinformed. We don't know what we know, and when we know is wrong. But there's this tea, and let's see if we can get anything here. Well, you get a hold. We're going to help this lady because years ago when I first knew her, and she was dealing in moringa, but it was moringa that was brought here, processed into cans, and she was selling it as a drink, as a modern thing. I said to her, you come from Ghana, you come from Nigeria. I said, go over there. Instead of having a new industry where it's going to all come here and we're going to make wealth, let those people do the work. And she did. She listened. She heard that from God, from me. And so she said, yeah. And now some of this is packaged in this country mostly by immigrants, legal immigrants from those countries here who can't otherwise get that great jobs. But a lot of it is done there. So they actually get work in addition to just producing the product and selling it. And that's what they need. Those countries need an economy. They need a reason to exist, and an economy that builds up and it spills over to everyone. Milton Friedman taught that, understood it, and that's what we have in this country. We're not a capitalist country. We're a consumer country. But get Moringa. I will try to put the address and the contacts on it there so you can try to help her. See that? And this is that's read off. I don't have to say that because I'm not selling it, but maybe I will be. So it says on there, these statements have not been validated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not enough to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. But I want to tell you that what we read here about what's in it, that comes from the United Nations. They know this plant. They know about it. They know what it is. And whoever does. She also has other products. She has pills. She has really, this is an excellent thing. Excellent thing. I don't know the details, but the concept is excellent. And this has chives and garlic and moringa in it, and it has acidophilus in a better form than most people. Please, I'm making a video right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know you are. Thank you. What has to happen here is, so now that's what I have to do, but they mean well to do something, but this, well, he's a good guy. So please, I wanted to stop this and I would have been done by now. I'm going to make another one. I'm trying to make these short because I'm going to run out of time and battery power and space on my memory, and then I'll have to stop. And I want to make many of these and put them on there. Please join us, help us, participate. I don't want your money. I want you to be my friend, and I want you to consider me your friend. That's what God wants. And we're going to change the world. If you join with us in this church and participate in it, if you're not doing so well, and you listen and involve, we will find a way for you to do well, and then we'll extend that to the world. We're going to get the poor people in the world having some voice and being heard and being able to participate, instead of the way it is now, where rich people and others like Democrats think they act for the poor, but they're not even poor themselves. There's not a poor person involved.